towers because they're just so iconic. And then just seeing all the team members, just knowing that there's such a huge team of people here that are right behind us. Every single race weekend throughout the year, we know that we have such a great force back here supporting us, and without that, we wouldn't have the success that we've had over the years. So it's a privilege, and obviously it's my 10th year with you guys, and I'm so grateful that you're continuing with us, to have the faith and belief in the team to be pushing forwards in technology. I'm so proud of what we've achieved so far, but know there's going to be so much more up ahead, so thank you.
For you, George, I mean, it's not been 10 years, it's barely even been 10 months since you first came here, I think back in April, just after the borders opened. So, what do you think of KL? What do you make of our title partners' home city and all it has to offer?
Yeah, as you said, it's only my second time here in KO, and I love it, to be honest. Everybody's so welcoming, so friendly, and the culture over here is certainly very different to what we have in Europe, and I think that's so special to experience that, and how everybody always has a smile on their face. I think we have a lot to learn in that regard, so I admire everybody here. And as Lewis said, seeing the towers is so iconic, and you can see them from miles away. Also, when I was coming from the airport, I tried taking a photograph on my iPhone, and it was so far away, the photo was awful, but it's just, you just see how special that is. So yeah, pleasure to be back, and to many more years.
You both got a chance to go up the towers a little bit later, and up on the Sky Bridge as well, so that will be fun. And Lewis, we just announced the renewal of the partnership, not from now, but from 2026 onwards. I mean, you spent a career with Mercedes in Formula One. You've never driven a power unit or a car powered by any other engine. How important is that sort of long-term trusted partnership, not just in your career, but also for the team as a whole?
I think longevity and loyalty is such important values that I think businesses need to have as an integral part of the way they operate. And I think also it takes time to build relationships. It takes time to put in infrastructure. It takes time, as everyone knows here, how long it takes to develop something. We're experiencing something like that just in this season. We've had a difficult crowd to work with, and it's taken a whole year for us to really get on top of and steer us in the right direction for next year. But just over these years, just seeing the development, I remember that in the first couple of years, seeing the little upgrades that you have along the way, where you have like almost a 10% of power, and those are the really, really exciting days. And I know that moving forward, there's going to be more of those, particularly as we're moving towards more sustainable fuels, moving towards more electrification, which is also exciting. I mean, we have more power today than we've ever experienced. I think our generation has ever experienced, or my generation experienced in Formula 1. And the reliability has been such a key element in winning these titles. I remember when I first got to Formula 1, I don't think we were up in the 18th power for reliability, as well. We've been up in the 90s for years. And such a huge part of that is to the amazing work that Petronas has put in, and to the expertise that we brought to the table. So I remember used to get to the end of the pit lane, we used to be able to sit there and wait for ages when none of the other teams could do that. The power delivery, and the consistent power delivery through race upon race upon race, when you would have a big deck on these engines. That's something that I've always experienced with Petronas. So yeah, I'm excited and just so focused on getting us back to where we belong. And I truly believe we can do that this year. But it's not an easy. It's not like it's just going to happen overnight. That's going to take a lot of dedication and a lot of work, really digging deep, every single one of us. But I think everyone's up for the challenge.
I may stay with you, Lewis, just for one more question. Long-term projects, there's also a journey that you are on to try and change our sport in terms of diversity and representation, a journey you're on together with our team as well. And I think over the 10 years you've worked with Petronas, Petronas has always given a fantastic example, for example, of senior female leadership across the partnership and across the company as well. Tell us a little bit about how that work is progressing and how much it means to you and to the team as well.
Yeah, I would say out of all the companies that I've worked with, Petronas is the leader in all the brands that I've worked with in terms of how diverse. That was when I first came here and went into the towers and saw the different levels and saw how diverse it is in terms of minority, in terms of gender, specific. There's just such a wide range of people here at Petronas, which was great to see, and particularly female leadership, I think, is amazing, and it's not something that we see in our sport. It's always been a male-dominated sport, but I think the great thing is we're on a journey now, a pathway now to try and improve that, try and improve the pipeline for particularly POC, but particularly like young youth that would never normally have the opportunity in the harder communities to getting into STEM subjects. But it's not only STEM subjects, I mean that's a very important factor in getting more engineers in, but it's covering all the bases because there's from catering to marketing to, there's thousands of jobs within the industry. So we've started Ignite with the team. That's something I'm really proud of. When I started with Toto last contract negotiation, I've been with Mercedes since I was 13. And I'm like, I don't want to just be a driver for you anymore. Like, what can we do? How can we have some serious impact within the industry and outside of the industry? And really, it's great winning world titles, but what does it really mean if you're not helping people, if you're not impacting and changing people's lives? So that's what we're embarking on. So Ignite is working on mostly motorsport. Now I'm starting my own Mission 44 foundation, which is more focused on the real kind of systemic issues within society, within education. And we have now plans ahead. For example, with Ignite, we're trying to get 8,000 young girls into the sport, and that's underway. We have a lot more, some serious targets. And I would say that it feels like it's moving slow because you just want it to happen now, but it takes time to implement these things and get people in. But there's been a great reaction so far, and lots of work up ahead. But as I said, Petronas know all about that, so I'm grateful that we're partnering on that.
Great, thank you. You mentioned great reactions. I'm going to sort of slight change of pace to you, George. The supporters here in Malaysia have always been huge supporters of the team and given us great backing from within Petronas as well. I think you're going to get your first taste of that fan engagement over in the towers a little bit later on. How excited are you to also getting back to actually having contact with the fans and not being distanced, not being covered in masks or just doing things through a screen?
Absolutely, I think it's something that a lot of us didn't, or we took for granted prior to the pandemic, and when we had all of these restrictions in place, that the fans are truly the people who make this sport what it was and what it is always so exciting to go to these fan activations. And even when Lewis and I were last here, we had some photo shoots in one of the petrol stations, and seeing all the people there to support us for such a simple photo shoot was incredible. To firstly know that we were there and spend their time watching and seeing what was going on. It really does give you a special feeling of what we do is incredible, racing these fast racing cars around the world, the best circuits in the world, but seeing the reaction that has on all of these supporters really gives you goosebumps. So yes, actually look forward to it.
Speaking looking forward, this weekend in Singapore, other drivers are talking about it potentially being the toughest challenge of the season so far with this generation of car. What are you expecting?
I don't think it's going to be easy from a physicality perspective. I think just for us coming to KL, and when we walk outside, you feel the heat, you feel the humidity. We're certainly not used to that, so I think we're going to be sweating inside of that race car. But I think it always offers an opportunity. I feel like these difficult situations, difficult circuits, difficult climates, if you're the one putting the extra work in, working harder than your competitors, that can give you that edge. So even though I know it's going to be an incredibly difficult weekend from our perspective, sat inside of that car, sweating it out on one of the toughest circuits of the year, I feel like that gives us an opportunity to try and beat our rivals. So I'm really excited for the weekend. I think we've made a lot of progress throughout this year, and I think what's also really incredible for me with the partnership with Petronas is seeing that this is obviously one of the toughest years that the team has endured in 8 or 9 seasons, yet Petronas are still with us, and we have this agreement in place for the long term. So I think that loyalty and that partnership is excellent, and so I'm looking forward to the future.
And before we open up 2 questions, and I'll warn you guys, everyone was a little bit shy earlier, so we may not get many coming back, but as we look ahead to these last 6 races, Lewis, are there any that you've got sort of circled on the calendar as potential places that might be there for, the win might be there for the taking, or is it just a question of taking it each one as it comes and seeing how they unfold?
I think what we've discovered this year is that you just never know that with the circumstances that we face with each weekend, you can never really pre-plan. We get on the simulator and it can feel good, or it can not feel good, and then you get to a track and it'll be complete, for example, Zambor was completely different. Didn't feel like there was a lot of grip in the simulator, and then we got to the track and it was amazing. So, really don't know what to expect. I would say that just week on week, we're discovering and understanding more about the car, we're understanding more about the operating window, where the car works and where it doesn't, in terms of ride height, in terms of downforce and efficiency. I would say Singapore should be a good track for us because it's a high downforce circuit. However, it is bumpy, and we won't know until we get there how good a job the company's done at their part to resurface the track. We go back to somewhere like the British Grand Prix like a year or so ago when they resurfaced it. It was the bumpiest thing ever. So you just never know with these companies nowadays. But I think Singapore will be great. Hopefully, I really hope we can compete strong there. And then Brazil, I think, would be a good one as well. And maybe Mexico. Abu Dhabi might be the harder one for us because it's very, very long straights. It's about less drag, but also carrying the downforce. So yeah, we're just going to be pushing as hard as we can. And as I said, each weekend we're getting more comfortable in the car as well, and we're not having so much of the balancing issue. But I'm still going on. The other day I went on an event with the team, and I was driving one of those an off-road car. I was going proper off-road all over bumps, and I was like, okay, I'm used to this now because I've experienced it earlier in the year.
We have this outtake where you may have suggested it felt better than the F1 car does on track
this
year.
Well, we don't have any suspension on the car this year, so it definitely was feeling smoother. But that's the kind of ride we need quality-wise for next year.
Great. So again, I'll open the floor to